Damien in New Zealand. How are you?
Hey guys, how you going?
We're doing good. How are you?
Good. I'm actually very glad you took my phone call. I've been watching your program now for about 6 months. It's bloody hard to get you guys on a streaming video over here, but I managed to track it down, and I have to say it's truly awe-inspiring. And I don't say that very lightly. I think you guys are doing wonderful work over there, and it's great.
Thank you very much.
I don't really know a lot about I know a lot about Matt because I watched a bit about him on YouTube. I don't know much about Jeff D, but he might be able to sort of weigh in on this as well. I had a very similar background to you, Matt. I was training to be a minister/preacher in New Zealand. I studied for a very long time. I gave my life to basically the calling. It was a daily thing, 24/7, and I had ambitions of becoming a minister / preacher, traveling the world, saving the nation, all that kind of stuff. And I got sick a few years ago. I had cancer, so I had a lot of downtime from the church, and I began to question a lot of my beliefs and all that kind of stuff. I'll keep it very short because it's there's a whole process with that. But I started to I suppose like yourself, I couldn't see a lot of evidence that God was actually real. That there was there's no existence of God, and all these healings and all that kind of stuff, and the readings and all that kind of stuff. There was nothing to sort of back it up with physical, real evidence. And I actually left the church about 4 years ago. Not long. I got better. My cancer healed up.
Great.
And I tried to return to church, but I was sitting in church thinking, how can we keep buying this bullshit? Excuse my French. How can we keep buying this rubbish? These people are using emotional traps and all that kind of stuff. All the usual gimmicks they use. And so I left the church. I said to my wife at the time, I'm never coming back to this. It's just absolute rubbish. I don't want to be a part of it anymore. But what I've found now is that I'm trying to make that, I suppose, transition to becoming an atheist, but there's just that nagging fear that bundles around in my head, and I suppose what I'm asking is, how did you personally manage to overcome that fear? Like, what if God is real, and what if I'm being...
Sure.
Yeah. If you could maybe give me some pointers or something, because I'm somebody. I spend a lot of time now actually studying the evidence. People say that the Bible is not a true book, so I go and look for the evidence to show that it isn't actually true. If somebody says to me that God does this, or the Bible says this, then I'm not somebody who will just start an argument for the point of arguing, but I actually go and find out, and then I'll come back with evidence. But for some reason, every time I seem to move in this direction, there's always that nagging fear of, what if you're wrong, Damien? What if God is real?
Sure.
You're being, so how did you personally overcome that sort of, that fear?
I'm gonna let Jeff start with this, but one quick question. Did your cancer get better after you left the church?
What happened was I got sick during my time of ministry. I went and did 9 cycles of chemo. I had to have surgery. It took about 18 months to heal, so I was actually pulled out of ministry because I wasn't effective in that. And I've been given the all clear now. I've been in remission for 4 years, but it didn't get healed because people were praying for me. It got healed because the chemotherapy worked.
I know. I was just wondering about the timing of it. I'll let Jeff get to your question.
Yep. I was still in the church when it got better.
We were wondering if we could start claiming that atheism cures cancer.
That would be awesome.
I faced the exact same thing as you. I was starting to have doubts and thinking about this a lot. And I remember the specific moment. I was walking down the street in my neighborhood, and I had my doubts, but I was always coming up against the concern that I would anger God and get myself in all kinds of trouble if I allowed myself to take my doubts seriously.
Yeah.
And what solved it for me was, and I don't know if this is going to fit your situation, but in the Methodist church that I was raised in, we were told that God is kind and loving. And I came to the realization that the kind, loving God that I was raised to believe in would not be the sort of fellow who, even if I was mistaken, right, if I used the brain which I'd been told he had given me and used it honestly and let it lead me where the evidence appeared to point, a kind, loving God is not the kind of guy who's going to fry me forever just for using my brain properly.
Yeah.
And I realized I could always go back if the evidence changed, right? If the evidence changed and it suddenly appeared that, wow, no, I was wrong during that time, I could go back. So that I was not concerned about my long-term eternal fate or my short-term fate at that point. And then that freed me up to use my brain, look at things rationally, look at the evidence honestly, and just accept that I didn't believe.
And I'm almost completely in agreement with Jeff. It's pretty much the same thing. The couple things that I'd add real quickly is that if it turned out there was some other kind of God that that wasn't respecting of people honestly and sincerely using their intellect and would punish me for it, well, screw him. He's a moral thug. But in my case, I don't sit around with concerns that I'm wrong because I understand the burden of proof, I understand the nature of evidence, and I don't assert positions and I don't hold positions, or try not to, that aren't supported by that. So I'm not running around saying, oh, there's absolutely no gods anywhere. I know this for an absolute fact. My position is that I do not believe that gods exist because they haven't been demonstrated by evidence, and I also actively believe that no gods exist for a variety of reasons, but I don't hold this absolutely certain. It's about intellectual honesty. It's about being willing to follow the evidence where it leads instead of leading the evidence where you want it to go. And any God that is good and just, I think, frankly, I'm not that interested in what any God happens to think about me, good or evil. Anything that might qualify as a God could punish or reward me on any criteria they want. I'm pretty much powerless to do anything about it. And so I'd rather live my life as a decent person with respect to my own values and the values of humanity and help improve the world. I mean, I guess I'm kind of almost Jewish in that sense, that I'm more concerned about this world than the next. I really don't care about the next, whether it exists or not.
That's good. Thanks. I really appreciate that, guys.
Thanks, Damien. Appreciate it.
Matt, I've seen you on doing debates as well, and I think that you should tour internationally. And make sure if you do that, come to New Zealand.
I may. I know I will probably be at next year's Global Atheist meeting in Melbourne that I missed this year, which is as close as I'm confident that I'll be to New Zealand. But I don't know. Maybe we can work something out. You
should. New Zealand always gets missed out, and I think you would do wonderful over here. You can start my place.
Yeah, I think it's only fair that we send somebody back down there since you guys, sent Ray Comfort to us. So, thanks, Damien.
Thank you very much.
All right.